debating default interest and its function and its importance with S&P. And theoretically, we ultimately defeated S&P, but practically speaking, from a power position, we were not able to. But what the marketplace will never know, and maybe now they will if enough of you spread the word, is that these Islamic bankers spent 3 weeks and poured their heart into numerous conversations behind closed doors, discussing what's the right solution here and what's best for American Muslims.
Any questions? So when the back to the yes. There's a microphone coming to you if you need it.
Yes, thanks, Omar. Of the 3 products you mentioned here in your excellent presentation, which one do you think has the most propensity to be marketed to non-Muslim Americans, like the mainstream public in the U.S.? Do you think there's any chance there that these products could go mainstream one day? And if so, which one of the 3?
I think the one that would win out in the public market would not necessarily be the one that is, from a technical point of view, the most acceptable to classical fiqh or Islamic law, which Sharia is not. I understand that there was a provider, and there may be more than one provider of Islamic home financing, which in a credit crisis provided I think it was a 6-month sort of forbearance, that if you had difficulty paying your mortgage and you could evidence that difficulty, such as through a job loss, that they gave you a forbearance. I think something like that, which evidences the hallmarks of the Islamic faith and its spiritual tradition, namely mercy and love and justice, would be one that would win out more so. I think if there was one where an Islamic financier would actually say, I will share downside with you, but I will also share upside with you, I think that would actually be quite convincing to a number of people. But then again, it depends on your the individual's risk appetite.
I think we had 2 more questions, and then we'll cap it out. So over there, our
should this take off, inshallah, the market matures, could you talk a little bit about the supply of dollars or financing versus the demand? And then if you have any comments on the secondary market,
Can you repeat the question? Because I'm not sure.
So the question is related to, should this really take off, inshallah, and there's a great demand, what about the supply of funds to fund these types of contracts? And then, also looking for some comments on the secondary market, what happens when these structures are put into place?
Yeah, the supply in this case is very important, of course. Without supply, you can't get nowhere. And the supply for all of us has to understand that it comes from you. For example, housing members contribute to the co-op, and from that pool of money, we'll buy the house for the next member in a row, and so far. Investor comes in with the cash in to invest and take dividends every quarter, and another one in the waiting list to buy a house, and that cycle keep going. If every Muslim in this society contribute to that, housing or any other organization, which I hope to be one, not too many, of course, that will take place that will fly. We can challenge the greatest bank in the whole universe. Because there are too many, mashallah.
So I'm going to defer the second part of your question, just because I do want to get someone else here, and I think there's another panel that will answer some of that. Arshad?
This question is for Fawzi Ismail. So it sounds like substantively what your organization does as a co-op is it shares in the profit, shares in the downside risk, and that's something that Omar said, well, maybe banks do that. They might find an uptake in their products in the Muslim community in this country, you're already doing that. And what I understand is that there are legal structures in place in this country that contemplate that type of activity. For example, Federal Credit Union or California State Credit Union. But there probably are limitations to some of that profit and loss sharing. So one thing I didn't hear enough of, and I'd like you to take a minute to explain, is how is your co-op organized from a legal point of view? Being in a law school, I'm curious.
Yeah, the co-op organized as a legal institute with the established in the state of California. Of course, we have the license, registered license, to do the business as such. And it's been, like I said, since 1996. So the operation is running smooth. But like the brothers had mentioned, the supply. If we all of us participate, we will have a lot of supply. And every one of us will be able to use the fund to finance the activity, whatever that is. And the beauty of this, that the co-op or the organization will deal with every and each hardship for any member as death in the family, as job losses or sickness, whatever. And the board of each group of us, like housing, we look at each case individually and deal with it in a human heart first, not only in dollar sign. Because we are there to help our members, first of all, not just for profit. So if we, all of us, cooperate in this field, I believe we will be super successful. And will be nationwide and worldwide. Thank you.
So I'm going to stop the questions. Being the moderator, let me at least have the last say. There's an analogy. I see a number of my students here. So there's an analogy that I use in class that I think is particularly appropriate for these mortgages. We tend to analogize, or I tend to analogize them to hybrid vehicles and electric cars versus gasoline-powered cars. They both have 4 doors, they both look the same, they both have engines, they work in very different ways. The issue is to look underneath the hood and to see how they work. And for an American audience, I think that is particularly important. So with that, I leave you to the next panel. Thank you very much.